Hello, and welcome to Talk the Thrones. I am Chris Ryan. I am joined, as always, by Joanna Robinson. And of course, we are joined by a woman who enjoys the simple pleasures to keep her going. It's Mallory Rubin.
Yeah.
We are here to break down the 6th episode of the 3rd season of House of the Dragon right after this. All right, we are here to break down the 6th episode of the 3rd season of House of the Dragon. You can listen to Mal and Joe go deep on this episode on Tuesday.
That's right.
On the House of R feed, which is where you're listening to this and where you're watching this on YouTube. Andy and I will also hit this show on Monday on The Watch, perhaps not as deeply. But I think with the same joie de vivre that, we usually bring to cooking shows and stuff like that. We're going to get into the recap in just 1 second. Fire up, Danny boy, for the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Aw.
My beloved Criston Cole, bodyguard, hand, usurper, dead. Goes out fighting zombie rivermen, getting taunted by a teenager, and then shot in the face by an arrow. May you rest in peace and listen to Husbands by Geese somewhere in hell, my friend.
Amazing.
Before he goes out, he ties Alicent's monogrammed hanky around his sword. Somewhere, Alicent is doing the Don Draper, I don't think about you at all meme.
Yeah.
Actually, she is in a dark King's Landing passageway with her daughter, who is pregnant. And in the Situation Room of that same palace, Rhaenyra is still debating what to do about Ormond and his King's Landing insurgency that's killing all the Gold Cloaks. During this cabinet meeting, Daemon announces the prophecy that brought Rhaenyra to power, but that I don't think anyone else but him and Alicent knows about, except for now, the Master of Coin, and Mysteria, and all the other people in that.
Some notes.
Yeah, Sabbath Frey knows about the prophecy.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Rhaenyra has the slick idea to borrow some Baratheon garb and send some assassins at Ormond and Darren, which works out about as poorly as you can imagine.
I thought it was a good idea, and it almost worked.
She should have just sent better assassins, is my idea.
I mean, she didn't count on
Gawain Wick.
That's
right.
Absolutely.
Wick.
Sometimes Daenys is a superpower, and he's like, this guy, not hot enough.
Sometimes it's also a surprise. What else? We have Hugh and Ulf, who are starting to buck their heads. Ulf wants to take down some beers with the lads.
That's right.
And show off his dragon. Hugh wants to rescue his wife, who's trapped in Ormond's village of the damned. The Gold Cloaks are going on strike right when Daemon needs them most because they haven't been paid and they are getting murdered.
Yeah.
There's some Velaryon family business that we didn't address last week, really. Alan lobbies his dad, Corlis, to come back into the King's Landing fold. Alan also hooks up with Bela as the two bond over being overlooked and... Yeah, I guess it is, right?
His niece, yeah.
For sure. His niece.
Uncle Alan.
Classic Chris.
But
Yes.
I mean, it hardly counts on this show. They bond over being the dutiful children of fathers who overlook them.
What could be sexier?
There's also some Hightower stuff. Gawain is back and tired, and Ormond is not impressed with his adventures. We also get Darren finally articulating that he is not super into being Ormond's puppet king, and neither is Gawain. And Gawain is also apparently gay, according to Ormond, which I thought was interesting. It really was.
Yeah.
I couldn't, never mind. Another Tumbleton reunion that goes wrong. Hugh and his wife, Kat.
Yeah.
He's like, babe, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yep.
And she's like, not to me, asshole.
She's like, you smell different.
On a more romantic note, Aemon and Alice have hard launched their weird kid romance, and they do so over a treasure chest of lost dragons. Aemon is something of an obsession for Rhaenyra, who bargains with Alicent. You go draw him out of Harrenhal, and I'll let a with-child Helena live in peace, but if in captivity. That's her offer. So Alicent doesn't really have much of a choice. We wrap things up with Corlis, who is slowly but surely making his way back to King's Landing with his men, who have also provided security for the city, when he is captured by Hightower raiders. And we can get right into the questions here because I'll start with Corlis because I don't think we really talked about Corlis in a couple of weeks. He hasn't really been on the show that much.
He quit his job and
He
just
did.
went
He's
away.
like, I'm making boats.
Yeah.
Had some stuff to work out in the field. You know?
fool me 3 times, shame on you as a television show. I do not believe Corlis is dead, obviously.
I don't even think they're implying that, though.
So it's just
Kind of.
I thought
Because
that like
Ormond
the
was
way that
praising Corlis.
the
It
guy
felt to
from
me like-
Andor is looking at
Yeah,
this
Boljon
situation
Roxton.
seems to feel like he's like, oh, and now we kill him.
Yeah.
But, like,
No, I mean, like, logically,
Yeah.
I don't think they're trying to imply it, but if like a character
Sure.
is like choking over the closing credits, I think there are going to be some people at home
No question.
wondering, is Corlis
Yes.
dead again?
Yes.
Stannis is still out there.
you have always believed and you'll never stop.
Bodies, bodies,
believing.
bodies.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
This actually dovetails very nicely with Criston, which I guess is the thing I wanted to ask about starting off with. He was a major character on this show.
Mhm.
We spent 24, 25 episodes with him, whatever it was. My fave, maybe some mixed feelings across the panel on his participation. This felt like the way an episode should end. Instead, we began with it.
Mhm.
What did you think of the death? And what did you think of the treatment of the character?
This was a long episode, and I was wondering, do you think there's a version, like, how would you have felt if this had closed out last week's episode?
Pretty excited.
Like Gwaine
Yeah.
leaves and then they go encounter this and then he dies rather than sort of the opening. The unceremonious nature of his death, we should say, is sort of like the point of
Yes.
Criston Cole's death in the book, and we can talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's a really cool moment in the book, which they mostly, but unfortunately did not entirely capture.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Mallory, what happens in the book when Criston Cole dies?
So Joanna and I had this moment last week, as I think a lot of Fire and Blood readers probably did, when Criston is saying, there will be songs about it.
Yeah.
Where we're like, okay, one of two things is happening. They are setting up one of the most iconic lines that George R.R. Martin has ever written, and we're getting it next week when Criston dies at the Butcher's Ball. Or they're doing that in place of the iconic line, and we're not getting it. We didn't get it. I'm despondent.
What's the line?
I will say, ultimately, didn't make my top 5 list of notes on the episode. I think this was by a comfortable margin the weakest episode of the season, which maybe
Yes.
we can talk about,
Yeah.
as we go, but also in a bigger sense. The line is...
Wait.
Please.
Will you read the like fuller passage, not just the line? Because I think the fuller passage, like
3 arrows flew across the field.
Sure.
You want to start? Can
well,
you start?
I think okay. So it. Sorry,
That's
Sorry
okay.
for my
This
notes.
is-
but like it's pretty close in terms of like
Yes.
what Oscar Tully says. I'm building a sept of bones. I don't have enough bones, right? And what
Pretty
Roddy,
badass.
Roddy
It
the
was great.
Ruin like slurs, which is like better to die with a blade in the hand.
Also,
like,
just refusing to call him sir.
Right.
To not give him the honor of identifying this guy who's obsessed with identity and vows as a knight in this final moment. Won't call him Ser Criston, right?
And so then, and then the same thing happens where Kristen's like, okay, let's start with a little fight. Like just me and like 3 of your guys. Let me show you like what a badass I am on the way out the door. I'm gonna read the like text and then you read the lines. So that you get to read the lines,
Oh my God.
right?
Look at this shared bit of
Theater.
work on the
I
battlefield.
like
You
this.
love live theater.
This is
I
great.
love live theater.
Okay. But Longleaf the Lion Slayer, who's not a character in the show,
Correct.
said,
Sad.
I'll want 3 more, as in 3 more men. And up on the ridge, Red Rob Rivers and 2 of his archers raised their longbows. 3 arrows flew across the field, striking Cole in the belly, neck, and breast.
I'll have no songs about how brave you died, Kingmaker, declared Longleaf. There's tens of thousands dead on your account. He was speaking to a corpse.
That's how Criston Cole dies, where he's like, let's do something big and
Incredible.
fancy. And the Rivermen are like, fuck you.
They
Yeah.
refused to give him the glory that he's so desperately seeking.
I did
It's
like when he
epic.
was just like, if I strike my banners, can you let my men live? And they're like, no.
Too late. The men that he led on this hopeless cause that was not actually about the larger cause
But those
and the
guys could
noble
have gone out with
sacrifice.
Gwaine, right? Like theoretically, right?
I had like this moment because so the person who actually shot him, Black Alley Blackwood, who is a character who has physically shown up on the show, but not spoken or become a character in any kind of meaningful way for the audience. So first I was like, they just randomly had Black Alley do it. And then I was like, wait, that's the point. It's supposed to be like quite random.
Okay.
And so you can't just be like, Criston Cole was killed by a rando. Yeah, that's kind of the point. Okay, fine. But I was trying to figure out why it didn't land and why they're struggling with like some of these bigger moments that like, this is
Yeah.
called the Butcher's Ball,
Right.
one of the sickest names for a battle in Game of Thrones history. And like, we're hotly anticipating this for seasons, those of us who like hate Criston Cole. And I just don't know that for me it hit. And they had the same problem with Blood and Cheese. And they kind of had the same problem with the gold cloak showing up when Rhaenyra and Daemon took the throne. And I think it's just George R. R. Martin has the advantage of writing these little tiny scenes with like a killer one-liner.
Right.
And then the show just either sometimes chooses not to do the one-liner or does it and it doesn't land the same way. But it's just like these big kind of hotly anticipated moments. I feel like they're not quite hitting. But then inside of this episode, let's say the Gawain and Darren and Ormond stuff, which is completely show invented, I thought was
Awesome.
really good.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
you're hitting something that I hope we can discuss, even if like a little bit off the cuff, because usually what we do here is get into the minutia of like the lore and like how these things are working. But in terms of the storytelling,
Yes.
I think that you're absolutely right. And I was thinking back to Prime Thrones and why the set pieces in Prime Thrones worked so much better for me, aside from like, Sapochnik or whoever is directing and like, I think it was a matter of POV. It was like Jon is somewhere and then these fucking guys come out like and these zombies run at him, or he is the one who's facing down this wall of horses in Battle of the Bastards. It's like, who are we with? Right. And the way that they tell this story in the show is much closer to kind of like if it was a Ken Burns documentary, where it's like, we're going to go in on these 4 people talking about something and these 4 people are going to be talking about something. This thing that's going to happen over here is not really going to involve these 8 people talking about it. So it doesn't ever really feel like super experienced. It feels like it's something people are happening upon.
Yeah.
And then leaving.
Yeah.
And I think that's only a problem in so much as like, you get somebody like Criston and you're like, well, just the amount of time that we have spent with this person, it feels like it should be about more than this.
Yeah. But I was thinking about spoilers for the Odyssey. Minor.
Sure.
A character gets an arrow in the throat in the last act of the Odyssey. And in our screening that we went to, the crowd erupted in applause because this was like a villain and people were happy to see him go. And he got the arrow. I remember like mid-sentence maybe.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just like, it was a really cool, the arrow comes out of nowhere and just like cuts him off mid-sentence and this guy that we hate is dead. And I was like, why did that hit better than the Butcher's Ball with a character that I've been invested in, kind of interested in his like spiritual arc.
Because you know who shot the arrow.
Well, I think that everything you guys are saying, I think is really interesting. Like, I think there's the show feels to me, I've really liked the first 5 episodes of the season. I thought they were really strong. This is the first episode that hasn't worked for me, so I don't want to like overreact.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally.
But given the way that the end of seasons have dipped across the series, and the fact that coming out of this episode, we now only have 10 episodes of the show total left, a couple things are on my mind. One, pacing. A pacing issue with the show. When to go fast and when to go slow. That's connected to your point of view point and to your big moments point because, and I understand if, I don't know if this is actually true, but I would understand if it were a reluctance to say goodbye to a character like Criston, who is one of the central forces of the show, sooner, but clearly they should have. Because while Joe and I have said to you like probably 17 times on Talk the Thrones at this point, can't believe how much we care about Criston Cole and are invested in his arc. Like, Criston Kingmaker is one of the biggest pieces of shit in the text, and fleshing out that character and putting him on an arc is a testament to the ability to adapt this tale on the screen in a really compelling and interesting and new and fresh way. I've loved Criston and Gawain together, but I think it's undeniable that by the 5th, 6th, 7th time, their scenes were only the 2 of them sitting there talking about an existential crisis. It started to feel really samey.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you're building toward this big moment that in the book, as Joe was saying, the anticlimax is that's the point. It is supposed to be such a devastating thing that Criston is robbed of the glory he sought. The fact that it's Red Rod Rivers, that Pete of Longleaf is like saying this thing, it adds to the indignity for Criston. On a television show, we don't care about Black Alley yet, and so it's harder for us to feel like, holy shit, what a rock star moment for someone we don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is something I brought up on the deep dive where I was like, have they done enough work in the Riverlands? This is something we've been worried about since last season. There are all these little battles in the Riverlands, and in Fire and Blood, it's just random new character, random new character, random new character.
Right.
And here they boiled it down to like Oscar Tully, a young River Lord, and one old Winter Wolf in Roddy the Ruin. Those are the two characters that they've given us in this entire army over here. And then in Criston's side, it was Criston and Gawain left. So it was just Criston. And now he's got like a new second in command who like we don't know.
I like went back to the fourth episode to
shaved
find
head.
that guy's name.
Yeah.
I believe his name is Sir Edgar. Maybe not, but I think Criston at one point was like, Sir Edgar. So I'm like, I guess that's that guy's name. We are closing in on Butcher's Ball as the Rivermen are swarming the tiny remnant of Criston's force. That's the only face that is even recognizable to us at that point. I just think that's a problem.
Well, and I think
the Gold Cloak desertion is another. We don't know those guys as they're handing their cloaks to Daemon.
Pacing is a question, but also allocation of time, and it's hard to decide. But on the one hand, I was like, okay, did they have enough time to make us care about these people? And on the other hand, Darren and Ormond, like they've had the same amount of episodes to make us care about those people, and I'm deeply invested over there. But if you spend all that time with the Riverlanders, do you have the time to devote to Darren and Ormond? Maybe you prioritize Templeton.
The mistake, perhaps in the genesis of this show, is how much stuff happens in a King's Landing, like cabinet meeting, and those conversations, especially the ones since the Rhaenyra episode, I think are just. They've been so repetitive to me, and you spend so much time of her being like, "What should I do? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that." And Daemon asking for her to do this, and Masari asking for her to do that, and then you're like, "Well, if we just kind of trusted the viewer to be like, this is kind of the state of play in King's Landing. Let's build towards something else somewhere else." And maybe it's a matter of like the style of writing that goes into different parts of the show, whereas like the Ormond stuff seems to be very much written in a vernacular that you can understand exactly like what psychologically what is happening with this guy and what a bully he is. Yeah. But this is a bigger storytelling. I mean, I don't want to, you just say what you're going to say.
No. I agree with you. I think that like, because I'm inclined to think there's a little bit of season 2 PTSD where they think they need to save in order to every couple episodes parse out a major set piece and not rely on just like conversations in elegant rooms, even though that is also a tenet of Game of Thrones at its best. Yeah. But I think you're right, Chris. It's like hard to maybe say that, just trust that those scenes are good enough if they're out of balance with each other. I was thinking of that old Dithers of Dragonstone knock against Rhaenyra's small council back in the Dragonstone days. This is the first episode. I've actually quite liked the small council scenes to this point, but I really agree with you. I thought that the overall episode had a halting, incongruous kind of flow to it that was really jarring and really notable inside of scenes, but also across scenes. Some of it is what you're saying, the repetition. Even something like, and it's a tough balancing act because we want to understand for sure the weight and burden that is driving the characters to this potentially devastating place. So an example in that small council scene is Rhaenyra saying, "My father would abhor it." And I'm like, we need to understand that that's really a guiding principle for her. However, I think that the show needs to trust that we understand that at this point, right? Yes. I also think there was a lot of like, in addition to the repetitive story beats, there was the other thing, which was just literal missing scenes. What is the conversation between Orlin and Bull John Roxton setting up the Corlis moment, or the acknowledgement of the missing Rhaena scene with Jane Eyre? And I was like, this is just really kind of
there's a missing scene where Rhaena walks out of the cave and then we
goes
get
to find Baela, but
like gets on her dragon and flies around in like plain sight of people.
Who does Jane Eyre throw through the sky?
Oh, just a rando, I think.
Just a rando, just to show us that she's a maniac.
And I thought maybe it was the person who found Rhaena because she's like, well, this person can't know that we found Rhaena. So
she's just talking in front of the whole household in a way that it was like really confusing. And
how many of those people are not going to go rat out what's going on to Massaria?
Were her dogs in the room? I was looking for them. I don't know. On the like how it was written front. Yeah. Something you texted us last night, Mallory, is like David Hancock, a writer that we've really, really liked, is credited, but he's one of 2 credited writers. And so I'm not trying to throw that other writer under the bus, but David's other episode is the episode titled Tumbleton. So I'm wondering if it was like assigned
Tumbleton,
the Ormond stuff. You know what I mean? And that's why it feels so different. It could
be. There's also, we talk about like, why didn't Criston Cole land? Because nobody knows about it. Because for the rest of the episode, nobody reacts to Criston Cole dying. Now,
because there will be no songs about him.
But
And on the one hand, that's the point. On the other hand, narratively, it's
a great
tough.
point.
There's lots of stuff that people find out about from Ravens pretty easily.
Everybody knows too much all the time, so you're right. It stands out in contrast.
Well, this gets into, like, there's basically, I'm going to take this back to South Park because there is a very good Trey Parker,
the text,
Matt Stone lecture about storytelling, which I highly recommend. It's like very brief, you can watch, and it's basically them talking about, like, you go through the beats of an episode of South Park, and if you ever put in between the beats and then, or meanwhile, the scenes don't connect.
Right.
The scenes have to have therefore in between each of them, and then but.
Yeah.
And you have to have basically, like, Criston Cole dies, and therefore Alicent knows that her one protector in the world is gone or something like that. But there's no connective tissue between these scenes. There's connective tissue between relationships like Alicent and Rhaenyra. That's a coherent episode throughout the entire thing where she's just like, why would you think I'm such a monster? Why do you think I'm such a monster? I have to be a monster now. Right. You know, like, but they're spread out across an hour and 2 minutes with all this other stuff going on. It never actually, like, establishes, like,
I don't disagree, but I think they try, but it's less connective tissue and more like stitches that dissolve. Because, like, when you cut from Aemon and Alice, and she's like, you know, would you fall, like, screaming all alone, to someone falling out the moon door?
Yes.
So they're, like, doing these cute little cuts across scenes, but thematically or in terms of the fate of the characters, it doesn't make any sense.
You're saying your sons will be princes to Aemon, and then we cut to the crying baby in the throne room. There was a lot of that.
But there's all this
like,
stuff,
it's cute. They got
obviously.
really cute.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the got cute thing also, like, connects to, I think, another undeniably, like, less successful than the more deft and nimble scripts of the season aspect of this episode, which was just, I thought, in a really kind of glaring and clunky way, the number of characters who just said the quiet part out loud. Like, Rhaena, again, actually, is maybe that scene is a good example. Like, all my life I have yearned after a dragon, and now I have one, but I have lost everything else. Thank you for we've watched the entire arc. Like, we should understand that, and the show needs to trust that we understand that. So it's very, very strange. And then I think that the other element, a couple of these things that you can kind of we're trying to figure out. It's a hard show to make, but it has been operating at a high level, I think. And then this one also had just a lot. I think other viewers of the show have been bumping on this maybe more than we have to this point. A lot of characters making decisions that don't make sense. Now, I think that the show has always embraced mistakes as a part of the human condition, and that's actually part of the text that it's interested in assessing. Alicent mishearing Viserys or misinterpreting what he means by Aegon is a different category to me than, are we supposed to believe that Daemon, even in his rage, even with the threat against you made this beautiful point on the deep dive for episode 5 about the gold cloaks are an extension of his identity. Clearly he's, like, shaken to his core by that. Okay. He's not thinking about what it's going to do to Ulf, that he embarrasses him and shames him and beats him up in the street, but he's not paying attention at all to the fact that everybody is watching him, including the little bird who's going to report that to Ormond. Now, that fits on one level with Daemon's character, which is he's brash, he's reckless.
He thinks the dragons mean
he thinks they're above any kind of, like, punishment or consequence for their decisions. I think that, and the PR battle, the distinction and kind of PR deftness that we've been tracking, this fall tips, I think, just slightly though into the side of, like, you're just being stupid, and we need to be able to trust your judgment a little more than that. I think that Rhaenyra sending Alicent to Harrenhal falls into that bucket too. That's not a decision that feels defensible to me from that character at this point in the story. Alicent had said to her 2 seconds before then, really just want to escape, and it's like, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you out into the world. But she has Helena. She does have Elena, and she's using that clearly as leverage in a very scary way.
I thought that line reading was very scary. Yes. I'll look over Helena while you're gone.
And also the, like, remember when I told you that you would become the thing that you would board.
Yes. But I'm like, what is the plan? Is Alicent standing outside of the gates of Harrenhal being like, Aemon, come out?
Yeah,
like, what is the plan?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of waiting and a lot of rushing in the decisions.
I also, like, in terms of, and we can talk about things we liked and lore and stuff like that. We don't need to, like, entirely pile on. But, like, if Daemon is going to talk about the prophecy at the small council table.
It drove me crazy.
Why would he not switch into Valyrian, which they've been doing in almost every other scene that they've had together this season?
Yeah.
That is the moment
to
switch into Valyrian.
That really bugged me.
That's
It just doesn't, because again, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense that the character would do it, but it
nuts.
also doesn't make sense that the show would do it. This is canonically established as a secret that is passed from ruler to heir. When Rhaenyra told Daemon, brought it up at the end of season 1, the fact that he didn't know, that Viserys had not confided in him, was such a massive moment in their relationship that he reached out and choked her. That was the stake that the show established for how
And now he's like, I'll say this in front of the master.
when
of whispers.
she told Jace midway through season 2 ahead of Rook's Rest, there's something I need to tell you, Jace, something I should have told you when you first became heir to the throne. It's a secret. This is the line in the show. It's a secret that Viserys told me when he named me successor, and it has passed from king to heir since Aegon the Conqueror's time. Also, Orwyle's in that room. Orwyle, as Joe has mentioned before, is one of the main sources for Fire and Blood. There's no logical explanation for this not making it into the text if it was said in this room. Period.
Yeah.
So it's just the kind of thing that feels like, it's not like the coffee cup from craft services being at the table. It's not, but it makes me a little bit nervous. And I have felt a really high level of confidence in the adaptive choices to this point. So again, maybe next week we'll be like, fuck, we're back. That was a little bit of a dip. Okay. And we end on a strong note. I hope so. But there were a lot of things in this episode that didn't measure up.
There were a couple of things actually, and you've alluded to a few of them, but Joe, like there was moments where I, as somebody who only has like more of a superficial knowledge of like the story that I'm watching, was a little, actually could have used more hand holding for every moment that we get of like Rhaena saying like, I've always wanted a dragon, but I lost everything in return or whatever. I was a little confused by the Mysaria stuff. Now, at the end of the episode was like, I see now she is carving like a third way where she is like, I see Daemon and her. I need to make sure that I have like optionality going forward, I think is what happened. But I didn't understand who she was sicking that night on.
And you didn't understand her white Chanel little jacket
Well,
that
I gotta
she was
say,
wearing.
so now I'm enjoying this season.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
But when she
dresses
lied,
like Jackie O, and I was
she
very
does
confused.
lie about knowing that.
So
that
this is my
Helena's
interpretation of what happened. Rhaenyra's, so Alicent right away is like, hey, Helena's pregnant. So Rhaenyra knows now that Helena's pregnant, of course. And then she asks Mysaria, did you know? Mysaria's like, no. And now Mysaria is terrified that Rhaenyra is going to find out that she knew and didn't tell Rhaenyra. So the maid that she has killed is the one that Alicent gave her necklace to, and so was involved in the whole let's smuggle Alicent and Helena out of here.
Yeah.
So everyone who knows, this is a PSA to people in King's Landing. If you knew that Mysaria knew that Helena was pregnant, you're in danger, girl.
I really could use like, that's where I could use Adam Curtis voiceover, like, and that was the nurse.
So she's covering her tracks so Rhaenyra doesn't find out that she.
So it's not necessarily Mysaria being like, I'm starting to have my misgivings about Rhaenyra, and I need to.
I think she's just tying up
work
a
the
loose
program
end there.
a little
Somebody
bit.
that could rat her out.
All right.
And if there are loose ends, I'd be worried.
Give me like a moment you loved from the episode.
Yeah. Well, I will say this about Rhaenyra's plan to send the fake Baratheon assassins in to kill Darren. And part of her plan is to make them as smelly as possible so that Ormond would have a would be impaired during this moment. The way the Eurylochus putting the wax in his ears sound cut out as Ormond was just having a freak out about the manure on the boots.
Great.
I loved all of that.
I thought
Fantastic.
in a show where they usually are focusing on massive battles as their set piece. The buildup of Gwaine kind of being
noticing
something's wrong here.
Yeah.
And also, obviously, as he lets on later, this guy had chestnut hair and is a foot taller.
He's
or whatever.
hotter. I've met him. He's hot.
Yeah.
It's not this guy. I know we mentioned this to you when you first showed up, but the guy from Andor, Bold John Roxton, he has a Valyrian steel sword. It's called Orphan Maker, which is one of the sickest names ever. Orphan Maker. One of the
we would do really good work naming the swords.
I think so.
Yeah.
He uses it to vivisect a guy. I just thought that was incredibly cool. I really liked all of that. And then the Darren Gwaine dynamic. When Ormond's I'm not evil enough. Let me add some cash homophobia to the list, right? When he is like
and
making
misogyny
his
by being
Oh,
like,
for sure.
she's just
Well, that
she's a
was already
woman,
there.
She can't help herself.
But
yeah.
like making
Squeamish.
his, making his little jokes at Gwen's expense. One of his little jokes that he makes at Gwen's expense, Darren kind of smiles, and Gwen looks so hurt.
Yeah,
and then Darren's smile like fades, like, oh shit, I've gotten so used to playing along with Ormond that I have like upset the person that I cared about. And then he did say the thing later where he's like, I'm a puppet, a child. And I'm like, you're just saying that's the singular Darren line that I have not enjoyed in this entire series.
But like at the end when Ormond and Gwen are talking, that cuts off before Ormond answers Gwen saying, okay, so what's your plan?
Yeah.
Presumably that means Gwen still
staying.
is Hightower till the day he dies, and like he's open to
staying for Darren,
I think. Staying to protect Darren. I think Darren asks him directly this. The Ormond, Darren, Gwen scenes were my favorite as well. I thought they were fantastic. I mean, they can. Honestly, I also once again loved the Laris Aegon Tylan scene.
We're gonna
like
get to that.
it's there's just these Team Green scenes are so good.
Sweaty, grave dirt laden Tylan Lannister, sneaky hot.
More than sneaky hot.
Okay,
the shirt,
I agree.
undershirt clinging to his glistening chest.
I agree.
unburdened by his dead twin.
Yeah.
Also just iconic when he's like, the shovel is free, Lord Laris. And Laris just kicks Janos's body into the like not even foot deep grave. That was great. High comedy.
We could address whether or not Tywin also had to carry that body out of the camp that they killed him in, where there was definitely 50 guys standing around.
Don't worry. They just need to pass a few more days until they can get on that cog. This one, the prior one was Duskadale. This one's Maidenpool. A few days, gather provisions. They'll be out before the full moon. I'm sure it'll be fine. The Ormond stuff, like Ormond repeatedly calling Gawain, who has been through battle, who's a veteran of war, a fucking pussy, right? Calls him a craven. And then Gawain sussing out what is happening, grabbing the carving knife from the table and protecting Darren in a way that Ormond was in no way equipped to do. Cinema. Like, that was
awesome.
Fucking great.
And then Ormond vomits.
And then Ormond spectacularly vomiting.
They really went for like whatever the R rating that they have.
So
where they're
good.
like, we could have like all the intestines fall out of this guy and then somebody else pukes.
Yeah.
Awesome. It was good. And Darren looks really, really shaken to see the gore and the guts, right? And the like visceral, oh my God, this is what this is going to look like. This is what this is going to require. Also, we got the Darren the Daring moniker issued
without earning it at all. I like that it's kind of like a PR gambit, Darren the Daring,
it definitely
you know?
fits in this universe that would be a bit of branding that Ormond put into the world for sure. I was like waiting for Darren to earn that, you know, in some way. It's different. I can allow it. Hot heterochromia, Hightower, dead. I'm
lost
sad. I
another
think that
hottie.
guy's
I'm
really
sorry.
handsome, so I'm bummed about that. Who Damon, when he dressed as the Gold Cloak, lured in the assassin and then stabbed him through the ear right into the brain. Tough way to go. But that guy got off.
Honestly, pretty
this shows,
painless.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
painless because you're
full
just
of
gone
fear,
right away.
but I think it goes. You're out like a light.
He was out like a light. Yeah,
I think the fact that Damon was pushing it in during the whole conversation probably meant it wasn't super painless, but maybe the final thrust was. He managed to get off this show's version of, you know, a High Sparrow line. Wasn't quite the poetry of "You are the few, we are the many," but he got the sentiment across. But yeah, I thought like Ormond, you know, he still had moments in this episode. He says things the little by little, bite by bite. The performance is so good, exposing her as weak and unsuited to role. We see in King's Landing, Rhaenyra's like, oh my God, that's what he's doing. That was all that connective tissue I thought across the episode was really good and really effective. Ormond saying the patient hunter gets the kill and feeling superior
the trailer,
every trailer.
trailer.
And you know, we hate him, we loathe him, we see what a deplorable, despicable human he is, but he says these things and you're like, this guy is equipped to puppeteer this war. And then he embarrasses himself in real time.
Sure.
Thought that was really, really great. I really liked all of that. And just, yeah, I agree with Joe. I think the Darren Gawain stuff was lovely. Darren asking Gawain, first of all, Gawain, our guy, being like, it's been a week since I've had a feather bed.
Yeah.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know how much of
Talk to you after a week away for Comic-Con, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I was surprised to see Darren kind of looming over Gawain.
I
that
know,
was interesting.
Yeah. Freddie Fox, yeah. The, when you were in King's Landing,
Did you see Allison?
did you Darren asking about his mother and the emotion on his face?
And Gwen is also like, that's my sister. Like, I'd like to like,
my sister's being held
save
prisoner.
her. Yeah.
So that all worked wonderfully. Yeah.
I thought that stuff was all really good. I thought the last line or one of the lines that the guy who Daemon ear pokes was something like, we are the seven, right? Or we are like, it kind of implied that there's a little bit of a holy war element to this Hightower versus Targaryen thing.
Well, he said we have no signs or sigils, which I really liked.
Yeah.
But what else did he say, Mel?
How many? How many of you are there? How many? We have no number. We are everywhere. That's the High Sparrow, right? Then he says the daring thing. Daemon's like, don't worry, you're going to die in some dragon fire, be trampled by the army. Will she lay waste to her own city? Will she set upon her own people with swords? You will never find us. We're the people of the Seven Kingdoms. We have no sign or sigil, and when you strike us, you only drive more to our cause. So that's...
They have friends everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the thing...
Put it on the merch.
The tactic is clearly working. The gold cloaks are handing over their kits, right? You can't protect us, and you also can't pay us.
And teenage nuns are being like kidnapped from the nunnery.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra,
I'll light a candle. I'll light a candle for her.
That was awesome.
Rhaenyra thoughts
she was
and
like,
prayers in the
technically, that's a
Septa?
city comptroller issue.
Yeah.
That was fascinating too. Just the really publicly and nakedly saying, talk to Tormund Manderly. He's the master of coin. Like not being subtle about scapegoating him.
Well, she's
but
also like not. She doesn't have a hand. Like this is why Corlis. She needs somebody like him. She needs somebody like Otto. She needs somebody who's like, my job is to just take these arrows all day long.
Wow, and
like,
Alan's not up for the job. Masari is just watching her and shaking her head like this is not the way. There's something, Chris, something like extremely monumental happens in this scene that we want to talk about.
Yeah, we're in different places on it,
Which
on whether
scene?
it was effective or not. So you're the tiebreaker. In the Rhaenyra hearing petitions,
okay,
she cuts her pinky
I saw that.
on the barb of the Iron Throne, mirroring how Viserys cuts his pinky.
Didn't she also
in
do
the
that
first
when she was
episode.
seeing all the rats everywhere? Didn't she scratch herself a little bit or no?
We had
She
talked
was
about
grasping.
it.
This was like a blood has been drawn.
You were commenting on an earlier shot, where she was just sort of like running her fingers across the throne,
And that's
you were
how
talking about
Viserys got his infection, right?
Magical leprosy is,
Yeah.
I believe, Sabachic called it. In
I think
season one.
infection though is the medical term because
Yeah.
you learned that from the pit, right? She cut. This is a monumental moment in the book. Rhaenyra, the throne cuts Rhaenyra. The idea that the throne rejects the unworthy. Aegon should be covered in cuts. Let's be honest, if that were the case.
Technically is.
Maybe he was, and he was just too drunk to notice.
Fair enough,
You know?
but yeah, she gets cut. And no, I don't know how I feel about it because it's a huge moment in the books, and they kind of downplayed it.
Yeah.
A really cool over the head. I thought a really sick looking shot of her walking away.
They
and
didn't do like the slow mo, like tweet.
Yeah. And that's okay.
The throne looked like
It did look like dragon wings. It looked like Dany walking out on, everyone's
right.
favorite episode of
Great no notes on that episode of TV. I liked that this was a little subtle. I really liked, especially in a stretch of the story where Rhaenyra is invoking Viserys so directly, that it was such a mirror to his little nick that became, guys, sorry, I'll be back in a few minutes. I have to just hang out with this bowl of maggots for a while. I don't know, half my face fell off. But as we talked about a lot in season 1, when that was happening to Viserys, and as Joe noted, this question of how people perceive moments like that. Maegor the Cruel, who has been invoked many times in this season,
kind of,
what she fears, right? They would, if I burned a town that raised my banner, they would call me Maegor Returned. Alicent calls Rhaenyra cruel in this episode. That feels like a very deliberate word choice, right? Maegor impaled by the barbs of the throne, found that way. A lot of the throne judged him for being Maegor the Cruel. The guy who started it all for all of us. In the future for these characters, but for us, OG, the Mad King, King Scab, constantly getting cut by the throne.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that whether that's legit or not, whether Drogon was right when he burned the throne, the symbol of power and the judgment of the throne and all of that, it's once again, and this is why I like it, a question of what will the characters think? Right. So the subtlety of it worked for me on that front. I was glad that we got it. We had started to wonder if they were just not going to do it and say, oh, and that would have been interesting too, frankly, the
if
idea
it was just
that the
madness
histories
or
were
just power corrupts.
Yeah. So I like that.
Speaking of dragons.
Yes.
Got some eggs.
Yeah.
Got some eggs and got some love. Consummated relationship between Aemond and Alice.
Yeah. Do you guys think that Aemond is done with his Harrenhal therapy dreams? Done?
Nope.
Okay.
God.
I don't.
Yeah.
I thought that this has been walking similar path to Daemon and Alice last season, which is no fault of, and that's a criticism, but it's no fault of any of the performers. I think I just find Harrenhal kind of dull place to hang out for many, many episodes, you know?
So you're not gonna custom order on Etsy a version of the tapestry that Helena was stitching of Aemond in a very
Naked-
vaginally shaped
Naked fetal.
Alice lording above him. Harrenhal
That's why I'm
behind
glad
him.
we
Yeah.
do this
So
pod,
no,
because I have to
no.
admit I did not catch
Yeah,
that.
what in the George O'Keeffe
Yeah.
was that?
Yes.
What did you think of the rendition of that relationship, Joe? But also tell me a little bit about the story Alice tells Aemond.
About the clutch of eggs, I'd love to. Here's my favorite thing that happened is, when she rolled out the eggs and Aemon's like, Dreamfire, that's because Dreamfire is forever laying clutches of eggs all around Westeros. It's her
Everywhere.
favorite thing to do.
Oh,
But
so
this
there's
is-
lots of little boxes of eggs everywhere?
Well,
No?
so this is Helena's dragon, Dreamfire, and it was Rhaena Targaryen's dragon before it was Helena's dragon. And
Chris, this is a different Rhaena.
a different
than our
Rhaena.
show.
and a
Rhaena.
different Helena.
But
No, our
our
Helena.
Helena. this Rhaena was married to her brother, whose name was Aegon.
Don't worry about it. Okay, you know this Targaryen. Daenerys Targaryen,
I
a
do know
Targaryen
her.
you know, was gifted 3 dragon eggs.
She sure was.
We're pretty sure
Mhm.
those 3 dragon eggs came from Dreamfire.
Okay.
So the show is like, hey, you know those 3 dragon eggs that they awoke with, by killing Jason Momoa and all these other things. We have our own version of that, and it's a box of eggs that Alice Rivers has at Harrenhal. I don't know what was always her plan, if she's just like someone who likes to pivot. But when she says Rhaena Targaryen came to Harrenhal to mourn the loss, I mean, everyone in Rhaena Targaryen's life died. That's tough. 3 husbands,
Yeah.
a lot of kids. But it's canonical that Dreamfire went to Harrenhal. That Dreamfire laid a clutch of eggs there is new information.
Is new, but as Joe was saying,
It's
I think
logical.
very tracks completely. In fact, even though we didn't know the Harrenhal thing specifically, would have defied reason that Dreamfire,
Who
who's
love
just
to
constantly
lay
laying
clutch
eggs
of
everywhere
eggs.
and leaving them across the kingdoms, would not have left a clutch of eggs
Sure.
at Harrenhal.
But so for Alice to sit on that for however long she's been
Yes.
alive and been doing that is, I think, interesting, because if her plan all along was to seduce a Targaryen
Right.
to make Targaryen princes, because that
Uh-huh.
seems to be the plan that she has laid out for Aemond here. If you have children, they will be Targaryen princes.
Yeah.
And hey, I've got a womb. Isn't that interesting? That seemed to be her plan there. And we could wake these eggs up, and then we'll have dragon princes and dragons for them to ride at Harrenhal.
How do
Won't
you
that
wake
be
an egg
fun? You can put it in the cradle,
Good question.
perhaps. You can use some blood magic, perhaps.
We'll see what I'm curious to see.
Fire and
what,
blood,
Yeah,
you
So it's
know?
not
what
like a
Alice
stovetop
tries
popcorn
and
kind of thing.
whether
where
it
we
goes well.
just
You could do that. You could just
I
put
bet
it
the
on
air fryer would do it.
Yeah.
What can't the air fryer do, you know?
spray some avocado oil on it.
I thought the note to Aemond about have you forgotten your history was kind of interesting too, because the question of what would be known or not known. One of the things that I really like this, because this is a big thing for Thrones fans, just where might there be eggs? So Sam and the 4th book, Feast of Crows, is talking about, wondering if Silverwing left eggs up at the wall, and there's a lot of theorizing about when Jace was up at Winterfell, did Vermax leave eggs at Winterfell? So the idea of where are the eggs, and the Dragonstone. So one of the places that Dreamfire left eggs was Fair Isle. Rhaena was called Queen of the West, Queen of the East, constantly bouncing around. She's an interesting character in general to invoke.
The Black Bride.
Yeah, the fact that she was should she rule? Should her daughters rule? And then her brother, Jaehaerys, who started our entire story for us in the prologue, the Great Council, became king instead, and he was a great king. But the eggs are laid at Fair Isle, and everyone wants them. It's the hot goss, the tea has been spilled. Everyone's like, well, what if I'll give you this, but give me an egg? She's got to take them and leave. The stolen eggs that has never been 100% confirmed, but every Thrones fan thinks became Dany's, that Joe mentioned, they were taken from Dragonstone by a character who was one of her dear friends and maybe lover, Eliza Farman. And when they were gone, Jaehaerys.
Is it Eliza? Is it pronounced Eliza?
Alyssa? Yeah, not sure. Was
Eliza.
You're an audiobook, but I will say on Fire and Blood they have they call him Jacaerys instead of Jacaerys. So
true.
who knows? But probably not the way I said it. When she absconds with the eggs, Jaehaerys is like, "Hey, heads up, Rhaena. We're gonna have to go to war if something happens with those eggs. So the idea that maybe Dreamfire would have been laying eggs over a long period of time at Harrenhal, because Rhaena was there, she's staying in Widow's Tower and then just lived the rest of her life and died, and no one would have been like, should we see if there's a loose end on the egg front there?
Yeah, but
if there was
a witch there who was like, sorry, no eggs.
No
also,
eggs.
Bats in your face, like it's defended.
Every time someone came to ask, she threw a stone into a dark hallway.
Yeah, bats in your face. Yeah.
It would be dope if there was a job for the Targaryens that was like the Rick Devens of finding eggs. You know what I mean?
Incredible.
It was just like all I do.
Wow, from the Odyssey
Yeah, I
to
don't
Survivor, what can't you reference,
Does Aemon fall for her because she's just a witchy woman or because she has the eggs or both?
Mommy.
Yeah, mommy issues, but I think she also she's gross. Absolutely. Don't make that sound.
Stop.
That's like Emily Blunt and Disclosure Day level. Stop it, please.
Is it clicking?
Yes.
Remember when I clicked in your ear?
I do. And
During
then I elbowed you in the chest.
Collarbone.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Anyway. I think she's spinning a good convincing yarn, where she's just sort of like, and what'll you do? Maybe Vhagar left to protect you, and what, I thought that was like a really good line.
Savvy too, because think of Alicent saying to Aemond when he's a kid, your obsession with those beasts goes beyond understanding. This is the tact to take with a character like Aemond.
Yeah.
Your bond with your dragon is so deep.
Yeah.
So
she didn't abandon you. She left to protect you.
She's doing it for you. And then Aemond saying, oh, I'm cursed. And Alice invoking the idea of being cursed. She's actually has her back to him at one point so we can see very sincere, complicated emotion playing on her face. She invokes the idea of being cursed. Made me think of the barn owl quote, barn owl cursed to live in human form. That's all very interesting. What is Alice's past? What does she want her future to be?
Is she the castle?
Yeah, because she wanted Harrenhal.
I like the theory.
Yeah.
And that seemed to be her primary ask was like, I'll help you. You just have to give me Harrenhal. You just have to give me Harrenhal. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm sick of this desolation.
Well, but Aemond asks her, and Joe had posed this question previously, and I didn't have an answer other than, well, maybe she just doesn't trust that Rhaenyra's word would be, like Rhaenyra would be good for it. But Aemond asked this question in this episode, well, you want the castle so bad, why don't you just kill me? And they get it, because there's a bounty, and that's the reward. So I think there's probably some of that, like Alice is clearly done with Rhaenyra and Daemon. But obviously, she has another larger purpose that she is working towards.
Yes. Plans.
Yeah, the fact that Aemond is clearly a better match for her mission than Daemon was, that she's been bringing in these tarts to try
she
out.
Swapped out for the better, younger, more virile,
and
more likely to fuck her tard.
Yeah, the lonely boy who she could say, aren't you tired of feeling that way? I know I am.
So do you think she legitimately was touched that he saved her, or was she like, I set that up? So
she set that up.
Right.
I really think
why not both? Maybe there's something real there between those two crazy kids.
How long has she envisioned this Targaryens returning to the ancient seat of power and I shall bear them many seeds bit that she's on?
I don't know. I just think
idea.
she has the box of dragon eggs and she's like, this is going to be useful. And then she sat and she's like, ooh, I've got a hot young buck here and some eggs. Maybe I can.
And the whole time, like
make an army.
Sir Simon is like, there's just this lady who's out there who's kind of weird, but we rock with that. Like it's okay.
But have you tasted her venison?
Yeah,
exactly.
Delicious.
Simon, when he was talking about what she did with Oscar's grandsire, he's like, our healer, Alice. She tried. I feel like Simon was just like,
pretty
you say
credulous.
you're a healer?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
What else do I have? I mean,
did you want to talk about Daenys the Dreamer?
Let's end on that because that kind of has the last. That's the last scene, more or less, before the Corlis capture.
You didn't want
right?
to talk about Jane Eyre slapping Rhaena in the face, or that was
I kind of loved it.
astonishing.
Well, we don't want to talk about Bela and Alan. Okay, here's the thing.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And Hugh, actually, we haven't talked about Hugh and his wife really either.
Let's talk about the couples then. Let's do
let's
Hugh and Kat.
Romance corner.
You're always thinking about
Corlis
love.
And Alan
and Bela and her uncle.
And then we'll talk about prophetic dreams.
This was bizarre. Like,
okay.
This is book canon that Bela and Alan get together. So I'm not like, I didn't see this coming, but I'm like, they didn't do the work here at all.
I thought that she was
vibing with Adam, right?
That's what I thought.
We've been remarking on that in the spoiler section.
Chemistry.
We're like, why is she vibing with the other brother when we know she winds up hooking up with Alan? So I'm confused.
Okay.
By the work that they did here.
Did you see that they had? Did you think they had any chemistry?
No.
Okay.
I think the scene, at least to this point, definitely played as I'm having a tough time at work and I could stand to like work out some of my stress.
Yeah.
With
Do you think she just wants to top him? She's like, you seem dutiful.
Yeah.
It does turn on like a dime.
Doesn't it
she's
you ever get tired
seem
of taking care of
obliging.
everyone else? Oh, yeah, a little bit. Okay, how about one more time?
Yeah.
Right
Take
now.
care of me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then Hugh and Kat, I thought was actually a well done piece of dramatic storytelling.
Yeah. Also, some serious security issues at the Tumbleton front gate. Let's just say that.
Sure, but like
Hugh gets in, the fake Baratheons get in.
But
one
the
after
same is
another
true
is
for
tough.
King's Landing, where he's
Yes.
got like 80,000 agents apparently walking around every
were
other
already
person.
there.
I will say Hugh with his very Targaryen hair
I
getting in
know.
is like
It's tough.
pretty wild.
Yeah. Pull the hood up at least.
Yeah.
Pull up the hood.
I think that the Hugh storyline is important, but I think that this was the best scene I've seen him in so far. Was
I think he's good.
Kat
really good.
being like,
Yeah.
you abandoned us.
Mhm.
Yes.
If you want to know what you can do to help me, you can stay here.
Mhm.
And you leaving and being like, come with me, shows that you're not the guy I fell in love with, because you don't think that I would stay for my family like you didn't stay for your family. Like, and I thought that was really well done.
And he grabs her,
And
and
he gets violent,
we've
yeah.
seen a burst of violence from Hugh before in the previous season when he was like trying to get groceries when they were in short
That's right.
supply. So
Yeah.
there's been like these little moments with Hugh. So this felt very in character. I also agree. I really liked it. Yet another House of Dragon episode this season that has to deal with sexual assault. Like
Yeah.
Kat's like, I was assaulted several times on the road here, and I'm like, cool, great, sounds cool. Yeah, but I thought it was a really good scene,
Yeah.
and I thought the stuff with Ulf in this episode was also pretty good. Not subtle.
Their
but like,
scene on the
yeah,
hill
it's
was
great.
nice.
Yeah.
Where he's just like,
yes.
dude.
Oh, and plus we got Vermithor and Silverwing.
But just that idea is like,
nuzzling.
is your life better than it was? And it's like, yeah, but like, not really. Like,
It's. I loved that moment. It's nice to see just the two of them interact.
All
I
saying,
thought,
"Come on, Gel," and whistling for
Whistling?
Soy.
where was someone to be like, dragons are not dogs, dragons are not horses?
Come on, Gel.
Yeah, Ulf really voicing something quite, I don't want to like say profound, but very poignant there, And then we see that literalized in the interaction between Kat and Hugh. It's like, okay, you got the thing. We've been talking about this with so many different characters.
Rhaena just said it.
Yeah, Rhaenyra's reminded us very directly. You get the thing you want. Is it as good as you thought it would be?
But it's power without purpose or principle. It's like,
yeah.
It's like a character who's like, now I have like a weapon that no one else has, but
it's the ultimate status
like
symbol.
like it's sort of just like, well, what, like it's not necessarily because they've risen from some like lower class to like this ruling class. It's more like, why do I want to be a part of this anyway? Like, I mean, what difference does it really make? And especially if Daemon's going to treat me like shit.
If you can't share it with someone. And like Ulf saying that to Hugh feels like the inciting incident, of course, for Hugh to go into Tumbleton to be like, share it with my wife, Kat, who's right there. I'm going to go get her.
And she's like, you think you're hot shit? You think this is what I want?
Yeah.
Like, our kid is dead and you didn't, I needed you on the ground right here. Where were you?
Dragons have no point if you're not going to use them, basically. I mean, like as a deterrent, you would think that they would be this huge deterrent, but Ormond is proving the point that I am going to press the idea that you're not going to burn your own people. So I'm going to drive you nuts by doing 1,000 little cuts inside of King's Landing. Yeah. And he was sitting there on a dragon, and the only thing he can do for his wife would then incite a huge war. You know what I mean? Like even greater uprising than there already is. So I like the way that they've boxed characters in, and especially you.
I agree. I think in general, Chris, I love what you're saying about like whether the circumstances sitting on the throne or riding a dragon or getting a seat on the small council, whatever the case may be, like your proximity to power, your desire to have proximity to power or status. What did you want to do with it in the first place? Did you just want to feel good? Did you think you had to have it? And the fact that someone else tried to deprive you of it was such a grave insult that you tried to push for the thing that you didn't even really want. We were talking about this recently. Like the show starts for a reason with Rhaenyra saying like, I just want to like fly on my dragon and eat cake. It's a tragedy to find Rhaenyra in this place. The scenes with Rhaenyra and Alicent I thought were once again, even though I'm not totally vibing with the decision to send Alicent to try to kill Aemond, I think their scenes continue to be really good. And the fact that those characters have such a depth of history together makes these moments really charged in an effective way when there's no character better equipped than Alicent to say to Rhaenyra, I told you this was going to happen. Rhaenyra says, you still misjudge me. And then within the span of the same conversation proves Alicent's point, right? That's like delicious and very dramatically compelling to watch.
I will keep watch over her until you return, like Emma Darcy's delivery of that.
Yeah.
Harrowing.
Scary.
Very, very good.
Do you think that Rhaenyra is going to... Because Rhaenyra was very interested to learn that Helena was a dreamer.
I'm scared that Rhaenyra knows that Helena's a dreamer.
Is she going to go ask Helena,
Yeah.
what have you seen?
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
terrified,
I just don't like Rhaenyra should not have that information. Just for Helena's sake. Daenys the Dreamer, that's what you wanted to ask us about,
Yes,
right?
I was just that they make reference to that. And I was
Yes.
just curious if you could tell viewers.
Well,
what that was
so
about.
some Targaryens can see things. They're called dreamers, and Daenys the Dreamer was the person who, when the Doom of Valyria happened, was like, "Hey, we should go." A Cassandra figure,
Sure.
essentially.
Right.
And she's like, "Hey, we should go." And some people listened, and those who didn't died. And that is Daenys the Dreamer.
Her
Okay.
father, Aenar Targaryen, believed his kid. So
Believe women.
inside of the family, he was like, okay. And everybody laughed at them and mocked them. The Targaryens are the only dragon riding family for a reason. They were the only family. He listened to his own kid. They left. This was years before the Doom. They got to Dragonstone. They brought 5 dragons with them. Everybody else dies in the Cataclysm. There are no more dragon riding lines left.
Right.
So the fact that this connects not only to that kind of seed of Targaryen might and the Targaryen view that they're closer to gods than men, that's all very present for Rhaenyra receiving this. But this connects to the prophecy, obviously, because that came to us inside of the show, as we talked about earlier in the series. That was like new canon for us in the show that Aegon the Conqueror had this dream. So to learn that he was a dreamer, that he had this specific dream, that this was passed down. Viserys had, so desperately wanted to be a dreamer, as we heard. So the people who are like most consequential in Rhaenyra's history in this respect, Viserys, who put all of the stock in this dream, and Aegon, who started all of this with the conquest for the family, had a dream. So Rhaenyra hearing this, there's like nobody, I would say, more fully primed to hear that and be like, oh,
Yeah.
than Rhaenyra.
Scary.
Yes. And, it was interesting, certainly, to hear the way Alicent talked about the dreams. I found that kind of sad, but there was something very sweet about it, but also it brought up a lot of the earlier season, like, what if these family members had just talked to each other a little more? Like, a question we used to ask was, did Viserys ever talk to his own daughter about being a dreamer? And to see Helena was stitching this vision onto the tapestry.
Helena loves to put her dreams into arts and crafts. She used to
does.
draw them on the mural on the wall. Now
She's
she's
too cute for
doing.
this
If
one.
we find out that Helena has been the one
Sewing the
stitching
tapestry,
the opening credits tapestry all this time, I'm going to feel bad about some of my critiques on it this season because I'm really team Helena.
Yeah.
I love her. I love her.
So we've got a couple of plot lines that I think we end this episode and there is a statement of what's going to happen next in terms of like Aegon, and I thought Tom Glencarny and his one brief moment in this episode was
God.
hysterical.
His
the way
test for Tylan.
and his just like
Which
looking
Tylan
at
failed.
him
So good.
and being like, all right, we'll go to Essos. You know what I mean?
You're not going to tell me the cold hard truth like Laris did, so I'm going to pick Laris's plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So
a
they're going
little bit of character for Aegon.
Really good.
Essos, Corlis has been kidnapped. Rhaenyra's got
Wait, so on the Corlis front, my read on that was, and that was another one where I thought, okay, how does Bold John Robinson know exactly where Corlis is and get there that quickly and stuff like that? But Ormond was very pro Corlis.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was like, one good choice Rhaenyra made, making Corlis her hand. Hilarious when Darren's like, what about my grandsire? And
Otto, and he's like,
Otto.
Otto.
And Gawain's like, dude, you're talking about my dad.
Yeah, so he
Can I
said-
get a break for a second from you talking shit
So he
about my
sent
family?
Jon to kidnap Corlis
Because he wants to
either have him on
recruit
his
him.
team because he's like, if you're pissed at Rhaenyra,
Yeah.
perhaps you want to be on my team.
Yeah.
And now
that's
does
what I read
Ormond also
there.
get the information that the Kingsguard or the Knights, the Gold Cloaks have been reinforced by Valerian men? I can't
Well,
remember.
Valarian
So-
man. He seems to know everything. 'Cause
Thank you
he's
for
got
asking
spies
that.
everywhere.
'Cause that was another note I had on the petition scene. Rhaenyra just says that to a room full of strangers.
Where she's like, guess what? Like the Valerians are coming, and so like we're gonna
Yeah.
have like, yes.
I definitely think someone in that throne room was working for Ormond when they were like, "You suck."
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
very
There's like a
ineffective.
little bit of the don't let them see you sweat when she's like, those are Hightower crimes, but then just saying this is the very specific and detailed rundown of the plan to fix this.
Yeah.
That is, you have to assume that's going to get back to your foe.
So I
Sure.
do think
What
I
is
think that Ormond went to kill those men who were coming to replace the Gold
Yes.
Cloaks, and kidnap Corlis
and try to recruit him.
and try
That's
to
my
recruit
reading.
him.
So I think you guys are right that it's entirely possible that people be like, is Corlis dead? Because
I
of
mean,
the
if you're
dun-dun
watching
nature.
this TV show, you're probably like, I've seen enough people not be dead, Tyler
Yeah.
and Corlis once
And-
before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
very
feel like they're
specifically
setting
Corlis.
up Ormond making the pitch,
Yes.
basically.
And then Allison on her way to Harrenhal, but Aemond recovered now and with
A hot witch.
GF.
Yeah.
Yeah. With a mom who'll fuck
and-
him.
And
Exactly.
eggs.
Instead of the mom who won't fuck him.
Yeah.
something to
the
think about.
Starks, Tully's crew
Mhm.
rolling towards Tumbleton.
Correct.
Right.
Now without the
Mhm.
slowdown tactics
A fortnight away.
of Criston Cole.
Mhm.
Nobody knows Criston Cole's dead. Will anyone care?
Mm.
So tough for Criston. He just wanted not only the song, but for Allison to hear it shouting, "We light the way."
Sad.
House Hightower words.
Really sad.
Very tough.
I'm sorry, Chris, that your favorite
That's
is
okay.
dead.
You know, maybe he was slowing things down. Who knows?
But you're still Team Green. You're still wearing green in support of them.
Somehow Grasso has returned.
Yes.
I feel like
I still
we're-
have hopes.
Well,
we're setting up, I think, for like a really
Could,
impactful
right?
Gawain
Sure.
stretch. Gawain feels like he's really
Yes.
centered in the
Yes.
story right
Very
now,
much
which is,
so.
I think, very exciting. I love Freddie Fox.
You can listen to Mal and Joe talk more in depth about this episode on Tuesday on House of R, and you can listen to me on The Watch on Mondays and Thursdays. We're recording this a little bit early, so have a
Yes.
lovely Comic-Con. I know it'll
Thank
be
you.
over
Yeah.
by Sunday. We, of course, did not see scenes from next week, so if any of our questions are answered or whatever.
Corliss is just on the next time.
Yeah. Sorry. And we'll be back next Sunday night for the penultimate episode of the 3rd season.
Bye.